Good morning, folks, and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. Thanks for listening and watching this new 5-minute daily podcast, which was 8 minutes yesterday, but I'm sure you're not complaining. Has been a great success so far. So I just want to say thanks. Appreciate everyone who's reached out. We've also had a lot of people reached out asking about getting this podcast put on the podcast feeds like Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and things like that. We're working on it. It's coming. So be patient for right now. Just got the YouTube version, so you're stuck looking at my face, which I know is not the best situation, but we'll get through it, I promise. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about Mike Tomlin because Zachary Smith and I on Steelers Afternoon Drive yesterday talked a lot about Mike Tomlin pulling the strings at training camp and getting what he wants out of his team. And I think that is a really under-talked about character trait of Mike Tomlin in sort of the Mike Tomlin discussion. It is a really important thing that I don't think gets brought up all the time. Mike Tomlin's been the Steelers head coach for a very long time. He had success early in his career. He has not had a lot of success lately. I think those are pretty indisputable facts. I think a lot of the things that people point to as like reasons that Mike Tomlin might still be good or might still be a great coach kind of missed the mark, honestly. Like the no losing season thing is great and all, but like that's just basically a piece of trivia. Mike Tomlin wouldn't be any more or less of a coach if he had lost one more game in 2019 and then had a losing season. Like it wouldn't change who he is. And I think a lot of the conversation about he didn't do enough with Ben and AB, and there's some truth to that. They also played a bunch of games with AB and Le'Veon Bell unavailable in the playoffs, and Ben Roethlisberger's play in his last 3 or 4 postseason games was absolutely atrocious. There's a lot of things you can point to back and forth, but I think the one thing that like Mike Tomlin gets consistently right and has always gotten consistently right is the ability to get his players motivated together, to build a team, to get people pulling in the same direction. And he does it in a way that I think is essential in the NFL for longevity. There are basically 2 ways as a coach that you can get the entire team or most of the team, because you're never going to have everybody on board, but you can get most of the team to do what you want. Either you can reach those people where they are, you can do it authentically, and you can do it personally. You can create individual relationships with each player on your team. You can understand what makes them tick, what they need to hear, what they want to hear, what they might not want to hear, but what will work, how to manipulate that relationship, leverage that relationship into getting what you want, and then repeat that process for 90 guys over the course of a locker room. Like that's one way to do it. The other way you can do it is you can just scream and yell. And certainly for the length of football history, scream and yell was the popular method here. Nobody in 1970 cared about, a player's, hierarchy of needs psychology that what does this player need to hear in order for me to motivate them properly? No, they just yelled at them and they threatened them and maybe they beat them. I don't know. Like it was a different time. And I think a lot of people that don't like Mike Tomlin or maybe don't like a lot of coaches now wish there was a way to go back to that time, that there was more discipline, a stricter and more discipline forward coach. And I just think that is an unrealistic expectation. I think when you look at the nature of today's athletes, I think that approach is going to turn off way more than it will turn on, at least over the long run. You might get them in line for a week or a month, but if you want to have this job for years and years and years, you've got to find a way to relate to the athlete on a different level today, or they're not going to respect you. And I think we see this in the NFL happen all the time, where coaches will be in a place for a couple of years, and maybe it doesn't even look all bad for those first couple of years, but then things just fall apart, and there's this huge flame out, and there's a team that quits and a team that walks away, or they go win 3 games or something like that. I think the reason that we've never seen that from Mike Tomlin, the reason that this last few years this team has looked hopeless, and then they find a way to put their foot in the ground and keep it that where it was and finish 9-8 and make the playoffs and things like that, is that these guys really do want to play for him. They really do love him. They really feel that he is the coach that they need. He is coaching them the way that they need to be coached. And I think that synergy is the thing that separates Mike Tomlin and his longevity from a lot of other coaches. That you have to be able to build those relationships. I have a great story here. I was told a number of years ago by a player that the Steelers cut, and this is the end of the roster guy. Someone who just came in and actually was signed in the middle of training camp, and had no chance of making the team, none, and it was basically a long shot to make the practice squad. And he told me a story about how after he got cut, Mike Tomlin took like a half an hour and told him everything that he wasn't doing right, how he needed to improve, what the ways that he could have more success than he had in Pittsburgh. And this guy took that to heart. And he went on to have, it was not a long and successful NFL career, but he stuck around. He had like 2 or 3 more years where he was collecting NFL logo paychecks. And he said, like, that was just because Mike Tomlin cared about me. That doesn't even help the Steelers in that instance. That's just Mike Tomlin being who he is. I think the ability to know how to push your players' buttons, know how to get them to do what you want, know how to motivate people is not only a very essential task for any coach, but any leader anywhere. I think that's what makes, like, the thing about Mike Tomlin is the leadership. It certainly isn't the X's and O's. This is a guy that's not a tactical genius of the game of football. He is a motivational leader. And I think it's no big shock that his best success as a head coach came when he had Bruce Arians and Dick LeBeau as his coordinators. Dick LeBeau going to the Hall of Honor this week, who were that tactical genius. And since then, things have not always gone to that level when he had other guys in those roles. So I think a lot of that makes sense. And I think the reason that, like, the argument that things are tired, I just don't buy that. When you approach leadership the way Mike Tomlin approaches it, it's never going to get tired. People can be tired of him not winning, and certainly they have the right to feel that way. But the message is still on point. And I think you see that yesterday. He's making his sneaker reference on Instagram in the morning, and he goes out there and gets exactly what he wants from his guys. And I just think that is what makes Mike Tomlin an excellent leader and a very good coach, and it's why he's had the length of career he's had. That's all I got for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click the bell for notifications, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get all of the Steelers Morning Rush episodes, as long as me and Zachary Smith every afternoon, Steelers Afternoon Drive. And I'll be back today with a practice report after practice number 7 at St. Vincent College. So stay tuned for that as well. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Alan Saunders.